Everyone, welcome to the Tuesday edition of Just Parlays. Jim Williams along with my buddy and my partner over here, over that direction. That would be Chris King. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Joe. How are you?
I'm well. So we get ready this evening for a whole bunch of fun stuff. But before we do, let's talk about some of the fun stuff that we're getting done through our buddies at both Caesars Sportsbook and BetMGM. Now let's start with the new mobile offer for winners and whiners from our friends at Caesars Sportsbook using the Caesars app, where you can get Caesars rewards, the best kind of rewards, we should say. Now they're going to match your first deposit with a free bet up to $1,500 when you deposit at least $50 using the promo code WIN, and we said before this is WINZER. And it's in the show box below, and we'll be running a crawl throughout the entire show for this, so keep an eye out for it. But as I said before, it's in the show box below. So once again, what they're going to do at Caesars is they're going to match your first deposit with a free bet up to $1,500 when you deposit at least $50. And remember, you have to use the Caesars Sportsbook app. All right. Now, meanwhile, back at MGM, BetMGM, well, they're going to do something for us here at Winners and Whiners fans. And what they're going to do is give you a risk-free first bet up to $1,000 for any new customer. But you must make a deposit of $10, okay? And they want you to try that BetMGM app, and that's where you're going to get the deal. And the bonus code on that one is Video Winners, okay? So again, all of this information is in your show box below. Plus, we'll be running crawls the entire show, so you'll be able to see all of this information. So our buddies at Caesars Sportsbook and BetMGM, by all means, take advantage of the wonderful opportunities. And by the way, of course, as you all know, you must be 21 years of age to participate. And as we say here at Winners and Whiners, and our friends at Caesars and BetMGM say, always wager wisely. Okay? So right now, we're going to head out and do some college basketball. We're going to head out to the Mountain West.
Right. At first, let's say hi to Joaquin and Dean, Jim. You know, those guys.
Oh, hey, Joaquin.
Hopefully the weather's better up there towards Beantown and Detroit than what it's been, and you guys aren't dealing with a bunch of snow. I know my parents got a couple feet over the weekend, so that's always entertaining. They enjoy the near 60-degree temperature we have down here. And Euler's here. And
hey, Euler.
The Arizona Cactus aren't far behind.
That's right.
But, right, we're going to start at the Mountain West. The Colorado State Rams looking to bounce back from a couple of tough losses. They lost to UNLV in a game where Bryce Hamilton went for 45. Then they were upended by Wyoming in a tight game all the way. Now they get to go to Reno and face Nevada. Obviously, Steve Alford's team has struggled this season. They're 9-12 overall, 3-7 in the conference, and that's because they've had issues on the defensive end of the floor, which is going to be a problem here. Nevada 313th in scoring defense, giving up 74.6 points a game. They're 234th in field goal percentage defense. They're 247th in two-point defense at 50.4%. They give up 9.6 threes a game, which is 351st in the country. They're 289th three-point defense at 35.5%. Meanwhile, you're facing the Colorado State team that's good all the way around. 49th in scoring offense. They're 8th in field goal percentage. They shoot 56.7% from inside the arc, which is 18th in the country. They're 30th in three-point shooting. And one of the things that we keep talking about, because it's an important factor, is free throw shooting. Colorado State will kill you if you put them in line. They're 8th in the country, knocking down 78.6% at the stripe. That's going to be a problem for Nevada. They also don't know if Grant Sherfield will play again tonight. He's been out the last couple games with an injury. Nevada's 2-6 in the last 8 against teams with a winning percentage above 600. They're 2-6 against the spread in their last 12 overall. They're 2-10 in their last 12 against teams with a winning record. And they're 1-5 against the spread in the last 6 at home. Colorado State is in prime condition to bounce back from what we saw in the last.
Let's go to the Rams. We got the VCU Rams and the Rhode Island Rams. So, Chris, go ahead. We kind of popped off to the NHL. Let's go back to Colorado and VCU.
Yeah, there we go. I had to. My mic turned itself off for a second. I had to figure out what was going on.
There you go.
Yeah, VCU favored by 5 over Rhode Island. For those of you that don't want to play with the point spread, if you see the flat there, it's because I put a money line on there just so you guys know what it is. If it gets to the point where they're ridiculous, like you'll see later on, I won't put them up because, let's face it, nobody's going to go and bet minus 2,000 in USC or Pacific. Rhode Island is 12-9. VCU is 14-7. The Rams, or VCU is 7-4 at home. Rhode Island 3-5 on the road. This one's going to be a rock fight. And let's face it, both teams are very good at the defensive end of the floor. They're mediocre offensively. Rhode Island 7th in field goal percentage defense at 37.6%. They're 9th in 2-point defense at 42.5%. They're 74th in 3-point defense, holding opposing teams 31% shooting. And they're 34th in scoring defense, giving up 63 points a game. Meanwhile, VCU is 16th in field goal percentage defense at 38.6%. 29th in 2-point defense, 6th, only giving up 4.9 threes a game. They're 3rd in 3-point defense, holding opponents 26.7% shooting from beyond the arc. They're 13th in scoring defense, 60.1 points a game. Rhode Island is 1-2 spread in their last 7 on Tuesday. They're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 overall. VCU comes in 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 at home against teams with a losing record. They're 9-2 in their last 11 after a straight-up win, and they're 9-3 in their last 12 after an ATS loss. Playing at the Stuart C. Siegel Center, it's always an uphill battle, and I think it's going to be too much for Rhode Island to come here and look for VCU in that.
You know, it's VCU plays really good basketball there in Richmond. There's a lot of you got ODU in Richmond. You've got that whole
Richmond.
Yeah, Richmond's in Richmond too. So you've got some really good mid-major teams right there in Central Virginia. So there you go. And so let's move on to the ice where things are going to be starting to heat up because the NHL All-Star weekend is over, and so we're getting closer to a full slate of games. And tonight we're going to start with Bruce and the boys in Vancouver.
Well, first, before we do that, let's just talk about James. You were right. Belmont did not cover last night. I thought they would play better than they did against Austin Peay. They finally pulled it together down the stretch. But like I was telling John via message on Twitter, Casey Alexander's got to get his team more motivated down the stretch here, or they're going to get waxed when they play Murray State again later this month. I mean, they already lost Murray State by double digits already. They're going to have to play better. But on the flip side, I was, again, disappointed by Stony Brook. They lost at home. Gino Ford's team has lost 3 in a row now. They lost to New Hampshire. Disappointing performance there. On the plus side, we did tell you Montana State would win handily. They probably could have won even by an even bigger margin if they would have knocked down free throws. Good God, that was a brick fist at the line. Them and Idaho State. Every time I looked at the thing, it said, so-and-so missed free throw. It was horrible. That just shows that fundamentals are dead in college basketball. Pete Carrill is turning over in his grave. Somewhere.
That's right. And John Wooden.
That too. But on the ice, Bruce Boudreau and the Canucks, they're at home against the Arizona Cactus. And we've talked about the Cactus a lot this season and how they've been terrible. Apparently, Jim, what I hear now is they're going to move out of the Gila River Arena. They're going to build a new building. And they're going to play it in the short term on Arizona State's campus in a 5,000-seat arena.
Yeah.
In the interim. I guess then they can actually pan out that they have a sellout crowd maybe once in a while.
Well, and it's on temporary ice, which is always good. So by the third period, they'll be swimming their way toward the goal. But yeah, that'll be interesting how temporary ice in those kind of barns. And you're talking about, it's not like, in the summertime or the wintertime, it's Arizona, okay? It's not going to get cold enough to keep that going. So we'll see how that pans out for them. They have an arena problem.
Don't really go together.
No. All right. So,
but in this one, Arizona's 11-30-4. The Canucks are up to 500 now. They're 20-20-6. They played really well under Bruce Boudreau. They're 8-8-3 at home. Arizona 6-14 and 3 on the road. This was supposed to be Scott Wedgwood starting in goal for Arizona, but he's out with a chest injury. So it'll be Karel Vejmelka with that awesome 6-18-0 record, a 342 save percentage, 903, or 342 goals against, 903 save percentage, 1 shutout. In net for the Coyotes will face Thatcher Demko, who's 17-15-2, the 262 goals against, 917 save percentage, and 1 shutout in that one. The Coyotes last in the league in goals per game, scoring just 2.18 a contest. The Canucks are not a whole lot better. They're 28th in that category. But defensively is where it matters. The Canucks are 8th in goals against at 2.67. The Coyotes are 30th at 3.67. The Coyotes 13-40 in their last 53 as an underdog. They're 1-4 in their last 5 on Tuesday. They're 1-4 in their last 5 against Pacific Division teams. Meanwhile, Vancouver, they had success as a favorite of late. They're 5-0 in their last 5 as a favorite, and they're 4-0 in their last 4 against teams with a winning percentage below 400. You have to think that this is a great chance for Vancouver to continue their success under Boudreau, get over the 500 mark, and gain some more ground in the chase for a wild card spot in the Western Conference. Look for them to take down the Cactus at the Rogers Arena. You can never remember because these teams change arena names all the time. But either way, Vancouver up victorious. Look for another solid performance from Demko and Net as they prevail here.
I'd be interested in finding out, not this very moment, but sometime, how the Canucks have fared, statistically, since Bruce took over the team.
That's easy to find out.
Well,
let's just check here on one of my favorite sites, Hockey Reference. Of course, a lot of good information out there. Under Boudreau, the Canucks have now gone. Let's see. They are 12-5-4.
Okay.
Compared to the 8-15-2 mark they had under Travis Green.
All right. Well, that's definitely a trend up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a market trend up because you figure that 28 points in 21 games, so that's a 667 points percentage under him compared to the 18 points in 25 games they got under Travis Green, which would be not good, 360.
Well, Bruce is definitely an offensive guy, and where he has his issues, obviously, are on defense. But it seems as though, at the moment, the Canucks are playing both. So that's not a bad...
Right, and they've gotten quality goaltending.
Yeah.
It's something they haven't had in quite a while. You think back in recent years, for instance, Roberto Luongo left this time.
Right.
Because you've had a lot of duds in between.
This is true. All right, well, let's move on to the Capital One Center.
Yeah, and if you're talking about a team that can't stop anybody, it's the Columbus Blue Jackets. They were getting torched heading into the All-Star break. I don't think they could stop a beach ball. Look at some of the games that they've had down the stretch. It doesn't look good here. I know Ovechkin, is he still in the protocols?
I think he is tonight. I think they expect him to come out later this week.
Gotcha. But yeah, if you look in their last several games, Columbus gave up 6 goals to Calgary. They gave up 3 to the Rangers. Then they gave up 3 to Montreal, which is saying something because Montreal doesn't score. And then they were torched in their last game, going into the break, they gave up 8 to Florida. That doesn't really bode well for the Blue Jackets by any stretch of the imagination. You can't give up those kind of goals and have success. I know Washington has stumbled a bit of late, but they're 12-8-5 at home. Columbus 8-12 on the road. It'll be Elvis Merzlikins 14-12-1 with a 339 goals against, 905 save percentage, and 2 shutouts for Columbus. Ilya Samsonov 14-5-3, 288 goals against, 902 save percentage, and 3 shutouts for Washington. As Vitek Vanacek still on the shelf with that upper body injury he suffered right before the break. Washington 11th in goal per game, 3.19. They're 11th in goals against, so at least they're consistent. Meanwhile, Columbus 14th in goals for at 3.09, but they're 31st goals against. The only team they're better than, the Montreal Canadiens, who we know their problems this season. Columbus 5-16 in their last 21 on Tuesday. Washington 6-2 in their last 8 on Tuesday. They're 6-2 in their last 8 against Metropolitan Division teams, and they are 13-5 in their last 18 against Western Conference. You have to think Washington playing at home can get the better of a Columbus team that, like we said, can't stop anybody from scoring. It's going to be a long night for the Blue Jackets to come out of the All-Star break.
Well, traditionally, and that's all we can go by, is traditionally, the Capitals have played their best hockey after the All-Star break. So, if past is prologue, well then the second half of the season should be good, and it's always better when you've got Ovi on the ice. He's not there tonight, but he will be there, ready to rock and roll, and we'll see if the Caps can make a run. That's quite a dogfight in that division, the Metropolitan.
Yeah, it's a real cluster there. Like you said, we had good success last night. We told you that Ottawa would beat New Jersey. We told you that Toronto would find a way to get past Carolina, even though I was worried about Peter Mrazek being in net. It took overtime and at least won 4-3, and Ottawa had little problem with New Jersey being 4-1. So we also had both the totals on that, because we said Toronto would end up over and Ottawa would end up under. So, but to your point, Jim, like you said, if you look at the Carolina's ahead atop the division with 65 points. The Rangers have 64. The Penguins have 62. And the Capitals have 59. We've got both teams within 6 points of each other. It's similar in the Atlantic, where the Panthers have 69 points, the Lightning have 66, the Maple Leafs have 63. Once you get the West a little more spaced out, at least in the Central Division, where Colorado has rung up an 8-point advantage over Nashville, and then Minnesota's right behind them in St. Louis, 3 points behind Nashville. But the Pacific Division is a giant cluster. Vegas leads with 57 points. The Kings and the Ducks have 55. Calgary has 52. They have 4 games in hand on Vegas. Edmonton has 49, and they have 4 games in hand on Vegas. The Sharks have 48. Vancouver has 6. So you've got the top 7 teams in that division. They're rated by 11 points. It's going to make for an interesting stretch run to see who makes a move, trade deadline, and both the chance, and who can ride it out and hope that they can get in.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, let's leave the ice and head for the association. We got some good basketball. This, however, is not one of them.
I don't know about good basketball, but there's basketball.
I was going to say, but this, on the other hand, is not one of them.
The Atlanta Hawks, favored by double digits, as you see the money line is rather prohibitive in favor of Atlanta at home tonight as they face the Indiana Pacers. Indiana's 19-36, Atlanta's 25-28, Hawks 15-12 at home, Indiana 6-21 on the road. Indiana's 20th defense, they're 26th in field goal percentage defense, they're 20th in three-point defense. Now, Atlanta isn't a whole lot better defensively. They're actually worse in scoring defense than 23rd. They're 23rd in field goal percentage defense, 25th in three-point defense, but the difference is on the offensive end. Atlanta is 9th in scoring offense at 111.5 points a game. They're 8th in field goal percentage. They're 2nd in three-point shooting. For those of you that don't know, Indiana traded Karis LeVert over the weekend to Cleveland in exchange for the expiring contract of Ricky Rubio, first-round pick and a couple of seconds, which means Indiana traded away a guy averaging more than 17 points a game for nothing that will help them right now. So you factor in that Malcolm Brogdon is out with a sore Achilles. Miles Turner's still out with that broken foot. And it doesn't look good for the Pacers. They're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 on Tuesday. They're 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 when their opponent allows at least 100 points. Atlanta 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 at home. They are 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 on 1 day of rest. You have to think that the Pacers are going to end up struggling here again on the defensive end. I mean, we still give up 119 points to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando. Now, Orlando's team looks like a group that you picked in a pickup game at the YMCA right now.
Yeah.
The Hawks should take care of business.
You know, in the trade you're talking about, normally this time of the year, there's two types of trades. One trade is where you're giving away a lot to get somebody who's going to impact your team and get you into the playoffs. The other one is the trade where you will give away a player that might help your team, while at the same time dumping a lot of salary.
Right.
The trade that Indiana made over the weekend, was clearly one of those. It was the latter, not the former. So you got a situation.
Especially thinking of Rubio's expiring contract, and he's not going to play.
And so a lot of dead presidents went heading toward it, the other direction. But that guaranteed money is money they have to get off the Pacers wanted off the books. And Rubio with an expiring contract just means figure that you prorate him for half a season, which is what they'll do. And so whatever half of whatever he was due this entire season is now the Pacers, and we don't even know if the other side's picked up any of that cash. So whatever it is, and the Pacers have sold everything off for parts, so to speak, in that situation.
I wonder if they'll try and make any other moves. I know Turner was reported that they were going to move, and then he got hurt. Obviously, he doesn't have a ton of trade value right now because he hasn't played.
Right. What do they have you'd want?
True. But when they trade Domantas Sabonis, he's had a good season. Of course, his father had a long career in the NBA, Arvydas Sabonis. Right. The Pacers have some players that can help other teams, but are they willing to deal, or are they going to wait till NBA draft time when Turner's healthy and has played a little bit down the stretch, maybe try to rehabilitate his value? It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, we'll see. Moving on.
Right, and real quick, you are asking about Syracuse and Boston College. Well, just to make it simple, Boston College has fallen off a cliff. Since starting 6-3, they've lost 9 of their last 12. Syracuse has won 3 in a row. They blew out Louisville over the weekend. They also beat Wake Forest in that stretch, and the Demon Deacons have had a good year under Steve Forbes. Also, Syracuse has won the last 6 meetings against Boston College. I looked at Boston College's numbers yesterday because they had to write that game for winners and Leonard, and God, are they terrible.
Well, that's an old Big East showdown. Back in the day, that was a holy war. You had Syracuse and Boston College, but they'd either play at the Dome in Syracuse or they'd play at the Garden in Boston back in the day. That was a fun battle. And if you think about it, think about this. You have Boeheim at Syracuse, right? You had Dean Smith retire. You had John Thompson retire. You had Carnesecca retire. You had, Jim Calhoun. Krzyzewski's retired. And Boeheim is still... Boeheim must be like Weekend at Bernie's. I don't know what is going on there.
Boeheim is like Ric Flair, circa like 2000.
Be careful what you say about Ric Flair, because we'll get back to him.
I will never retire.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's Jim Boeheim.
Well, there you go.
We talked about that the other day, where Mike Hopkins was the coach in waiting from like 2007 on, and he's in his 5th year at Washington.
He retired waiting. So, oh man. All right. Hey, the Pelicans are playing pretty good basketball, my friend.
Yeah, they've won 5 in a row. And speaking of the Pelicans, in case you guys didn't hear this morning, the Pelicans acquired C.J. McCollum from the Portland Trailblazers, along with Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell, in a deal that sent Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander Walker, Didi Lozada, and a bag of lettuce, along with a protected first-round pick and a couple second-rounders. Oh, and look at that, Jim. We were just talking about Domantas Sabonis. Been traded.
There you go.
The Indiana Pacers have worked out a six-player deal where they'll send Domantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Justin Holiday to the Sacramento Kings. for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. I'm not exactly sure what the hell Indiana is thinking dealing with the bonus for Buddy Hield and the shell of Tristan Thompson. Halliburton's a good young point guard, and Hield, he's a decent shooting guard, but he's had some struggles this year. But
yeah, but wait a minute, just a second. Okay, but here's what I don't. Neither one of those teams are playoff bound.
Correct.
So why? This is a deal could have been made anytime. I don't.
Yeah, as of today, just looking at the standings, Indiana is 13th in the East. They're 7 games behind Atlanta for the final spot in the play-in tournament. Mm-hmm. Sacramento is 13th, but they're only 2 games behind New Orleans.
Okay, well that might make some sense there.
But,
yeah, because they're getting Sabonis, so they get the better end of that stick.
Yeah, plus they got Lamb and Holiday, so it gives them a couple of veterans to mix in there too that are capable.
Gives them a deeper bench.
True.
So
now there's been talk that De'Aaron Fox could get traded before the deadline. I wonder if that will not happen now after this situation.
Why? Yeah, no. Why would you trade him now? You got a shot to make the play-in.
And also, just in case for anybody that was wondering, James Harden is out tonight again for the Celtics, or not for the Celtics, for the Nets against the Celtics. He'll miss his 3rd game in a row. You have to wonder, you were talking in the pre-show, Jim, about how there continues to be rumors about how Ben Simmons could be dealt to Brooklyn.
That was the James Harden Ben Simmons trade has been basically the rumor that's gone on since CBS first reported it on Saturday. So if Ben Simmons is going to go, he's going to go in the direction to the east, about 70 miles over to Jersey. I'm sorry, to the Knicks, Nets in Brooklyn, and we'll see. I mean, it'll be Harden. The Harden for Simmons trade I could see.
I mean, if you look now, that means that the Nets will have none of their big 3 on the floor tonight against Boston because Durant obviously still out with an MCL sprain, and Kyrie Irving can't play because the game's at the Barclays Center. Mm-hmm. On top of that, LaMarcus Aldridge is also out for the Nets with an ankle sprain. Nick Claxton is out with a hamstring. Mm-hmm. Joe Harris still out. He might have to have a second surgery on an ankle. Paul Millsap hasn't played in a while. They're trying to find a trade partner for him. So the Nets are going to be back to playing as a shorthanded unit again, kind of like the Nash unit we saw in the bubble a couple of years ago where they had, a bunch of nobody playing big minutes.
Yeah, they got a lot of time. That looking at the New Orleans, Houston, that's a big money line up there.
Yeah, it is. But they just played Sunday in a home set, and New Orleans beat them on the road, 120 to 107.
Sure.
I don't know if McCollum's going to be in uniform tonight. Might not be since the trade didn't happen. But that's got to be a shot in the arm for the Pelicans, knowing that they've got him coming. So now you'll have him in the lineup. You'll have Herbert Jones. If Zion Williamson ever decides that he can play basketball again. And speaking of Zion, I've seen pictures of him. He's starting to look like Barkley now. That's not necessarily a good thing.
No.
But the Rockets last in the league in scoring defense and last in field goal percentage. They're in the middle of the pack in 3-point defense. New Orleans, surprisingly, is in the middle of the pack in scoring defense. I'm surprised by that, but they're 16th, despite being 25th in field goal percentage defense and 28th in 3-point defense. The Rockets are 0-5 in their last 5 when their opponent gives up 100 points or more. They're 0-4 in their last 4 against teams with a winning percentage below 400. New Orleans 4-0 in their last 4 overall, and they are 3-0-1 in their last 4 following a straight-up win. I just don't have a lot of faith in the Rockets. I mean, they don't have a ton of weapons. They're not very good, as evidenced by their record. Just a quick look. They won't have, of course, we talked about it, Usman Garuba is out. John Wall, everybody knows about him. Eric Gordon is questionable with a sore knee tonight. That's could be another blow for them. Meanwhile, for New Orleans, Garrett Temple is available. It comes out of the protocols. Willie Hernangomez is still in the protocols, and with Miami. So it should be interesting.
That for a fact. Speaking of a fact, we're going to talk about our friends at Caesar Sportsbook and BetMGM. But first, fun fact about the Super Bowl, because we're counting down, and that is that as we know, this year the NFC is the visitors. So the Rams will be wearing the visiting uniforms. The Bengals will be the home team. However, the Rams will be able to dress in their own locker room. The visiting locker room will go to the Bengals. So I know you're probably hanging on that.
Dress in the visiting locker room too.
Sorry, what?
I thought they were going to have to dress in the visiting locker room.
No. Because they happen to be, and this is the very rare thing, which it was rare until last year when the home team played. And now, after 55 games where the quote-unquote home team didn't make it, although we do go back and when San Francisco and the Dolphins played each other, that was in Palo Alto, so that was relatively close. Then there was the Steelers when they went out to play the Rams in the Super Bowl in 1980 with Vince Ferragamo at the helm.
Yeah, Vince Ferragamo.
Yeah. That was played in the Rose Bowl, which is about 20, 25 miles out of the city limits of Los Angeles. So they didn't play in their home stadiums, but both those teams were close enough. So you get the Rams at SoFi, and they will be in their home dressing room as the visitors, and you'll have the Bengals in the visitors' dressing room, which at SoFi is not such a bad thing either. So you got that coming up. So those are things that you don't necessarily need to know, but what the heck, work it into the conversation will make it look like you know something. Okay. Speaking of knowing something, we do know this. We know that our friends at Caesar Sportsbook have a great deal for those of us at Winners and Winers. And here is the deal. They're going to match your first deposit with a free bet up to $1,500 when you deposit at least $50 using the promo code, and I'll put it on the screen here in a minute, but it's also in our show box. It's Windsor, and that's how it's pronounced, but you'll see how it's spelled. WHINERSCZR. Okay, so use that promo code, and they're going to match your first deposit with a bet, a free bet up to $1,500 when you deposit at least $50 and use the Caesars Sportsbook app, okay? Because that app is the only place you're going to get Caesars rewards. Now, here's what our buddies down at BetMGM have for you. Now, they're going to give a risk-free bet of up to $1,000 for any of the new customers, but only if you deposit, and you must deposit $10 to get things started. Use the promo code Video Winners, okay? That's Video Winners is a special BetMGM promo code, and also use their BetMGM app, okay? So those are our partners, and we want to take care of them. And as I said before, all that information is in the show box below. We'll also be running a crawl here in a minute or so you can get all that information while you're paying attention to our 2 for the money, 4 for the show, and all kinds of crazy in our last panel coming up. So, all right, we talked about 2 for the money. Let's go see what we got for 2 for the money today.
Yeah, Milwaukee minus 3.5 over the Lakers. Let's face it, the Lakers are horrible. I don't care what people think, but they're suddenly going to turn it around. They can't do anything really with their roster. Carmelo Anthony is out tonight with a hamstring strain. Sekou Doumbouya is in the G League, and Howard is questionable. Meanwhile, the only major injury for the Bucks is George Hill with a sore neck, and Brook Lopez, get back surgery like one game this season. They played all right without him, I think. I think that the combination of Antetokounmpo, Middleton, and Holiday should be enough to take care of the Lakers. And then, why not fade both teams from LA? Because why not? the Grizz, they play some good basketball. I mean, we've talked about it several times of late. The Clippers, I know they got an infusion on the bench with Norman Powell, getting him from Portland along with Robert Covington, which will help them from that perspective. But Memphis is a very good basketball team, and they've been beating teams despite missing some of their key players. Dylan Brooks still out with that ankle sprain, will probably be out until after the All-Star break. The Clippers, of course, don't have Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. Might not see either one of them this season. And when you get right down to it, tough to fade Memphis at home with the way they played. We talked about the Hurricanes. They came up short yesterday against the Maple Leafs. They get a softer fall tonight as they face the Senators, the entire center. I expect that Carolina will get the win there. And the Penguins, I expect to break out of their funk that they had right before the break and come up with a win on the road in Beantown over the Bruins. Both teams struggled heading into the break. Pittsburgh lost their last 4. Boston gave up 19 goals in their last 5 games heading into the break. A safe play there, too. The over-under was set at 5.5. You could probably chase the over there and come up a winner as well.
Let's go for the show.
Yeah, we got the Akron Zips. Everybody loves the Akron Zips. Especially when they're facing Northern Illinois, a team that can't score to save their lives. The Zips, they're right up there near the top of the Mid-American Conference. Speaking of the Mid-American Conference, big game tonight as Ohio travels to face Toledo. That'll be a big matchup there. So stay tuned for that one. Villanova, I like -4 on the road over St. John's. I can't buy into the Red Storm. One game they play well, the next game they suck. Then after that, they'll play a good game, then they'll lose 2 or 3. Mike Anderson, he's had a lot of issues this season. I don't know why. He's got some talent. They've won 2 in a row, but they beat Georgetown and Butler. I don't know how much that moves the needle for you, but it doesn't move it much for me. They lost to 11 to Villanova on the road already. I don't expect them to have a lot of success at home in this one. LSU, talk about a team that can't figure out what they're doing. They started 15-1. They've lost 6 out of 7. But I like them as a slight favorite here on the road against Texas A&M. I know Buzz Williams, he's done a great job down there in College Station. You have to wonder if Mark Kent letting it go before. But, you look at Texas A&M is just as cold, if not colder, than LSU. They started 15-2, and then they lost 6 in a row, including LSU in Baton Rouge at the Peacock Center on January 26th. They're coming off a home loss to Missouri on Saturday, which if that doesn't tell you how bad you're going, I don't know what does. I like it figure there. And we talked about the Hawks and the Pacers.
Yeah.
That line's probably going to get a whole lot uglier now that Domantas Sabonis and Jeremy Lamb and Holiday are gone. So jump on it now if you're going to jump on it.
Don't jump too hard. You might get hurt.
Yeah, you might get to the ceiling.
This is good. All right, so we've gone 2 for the money. We've gone 4 for the show, and now let's go crazy. We got a whole bunch of fun stuff here in the Shot in the Dark.
Yeah, we talked about it. Mueller asked before. We talked about Syracuse and Boston College. LED Orange on the road to make it 4 straight wins. Our good buddies, Jeff Linder and Wyoming at home against Utah State. We talked about Wyoming in the pre-show, Jim. The last 3 games, they beat the top teams in the Mountain West. They took down Boise State. They took down Fresno State. They took down Colorado State. You got to watch out for Linder's team. Rob, Ike, and company are playing some very good basketball. They come in 19-3, 8-1 in the Mountain West. Their 1 loss in the Mountain West, 3-point loss at Boise State back in January. They've already taken down Utah State on the road. This was at the Arena Auditorium in Laramie. You have to think Wyoming will get the win there. Good old USC. It's rivalry week in the Pac-12, which means you get to play your closest geographical rival, and then you get to play some team that you want to beat the crap out of. Well, here's today's punching bag, the Pacific Tigers. What can we tell you about Pacific that you might not know? Well, they're not good, but I think probably people know that. Just to give you an idea how bad Pacific is, they are 0-9 on the road. Not only are they 0-9 on the road, they have not covered in any of those 9 road games.
You know, with USC and UCLA playing on Saturday, is that what you said? It's Saturday,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Saturday.
All right, that's the day before Super Bowl in the city where the Super Bowl is being played. Can you imagine how many stars who went to USC and UCLA are going to show up at that basketball game? I mean, that's going to be forget the Clippers and the Lakers, the Trojans and and the Bruins definitely are going to have some fun with a full house on Saturday with a lot of star-studded people. That might be, you know how we kind of look when the Lakers are playing at home and when the Clippers are playing, at the same crypto arena. You look to see who the stars are. I have a feeling the Trojans and the Bruins are going to have match them star for star on that game on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Magic will be there, and
Sure.
people will be there. Bill Walton will probably be there talking about meat or something.
Right. He may be doing the game.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Who's the head? Isn't him and Dave Pash? Is that who it is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel bad for Dave Pash sometimes because, Walton will go on some stream of consciousness talking about, some other planet or something for 20 minutes.
You get what you get with Bill. That's just the way it is. You get what you get. Indiana Hoosiers.
USC should have little trouble with Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
You got a -1 over Northwestern. Northwestern was actually favored by 1 originally.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Hoosiers anyway. Trace Jackson Davis is a force in the low block. I don't know if Northwestern can contain him. I like the Hoosiers on the ice. Vegas over Edmonton. Mike Smith is supposed to come off IR and make the start at net for the Oilers. I wonder how rusty he is. He hasn't played much this season. He's been hurt a couple of times. We talked about the Devils playing last night against Ottawa, but as Jim put it in the pre-show, they're facing everybody's homecoming team, the Canadians. Montreal, obviously the league's worst team. They have 23 points. They have no bullpen, no offense. They have no defense. They got nice jerseys, I guess, if you the simplicity.
Yes.
But other than that,
Yeah, Habiton. Yeah.
yeah. And Matthew, you were asking a minute ago about the Wild, how it's paid off. They're playing the Jets tonight. Minnesota's beaten Winnipeg twice this season. They scored 13 goals in those 2 games. I like them on the road over the Jets. I know Winnipeg's played better for Dave Lowry than they did for Paul Maurice, but I just don't see them pulling it out tonight. Minnesota's on a roll with 1-6 in a row heading into the break. I look for them to make it 7 with a win tonight. Indiana and Atlanta, I look for over 226. Of course, now I have to wonder if Atlanta's going to have to score 140 of those to push it over the number because Indiana has no players. But with that said, I still think it'll end up over the mark. Denver -8 over the Knicks. The Knicks played last night in Utah. They had an 86-82 lead after 3 quarters, and then ran out of gas and got outscored 31-18 in the fourth to lose by 9. Which means if you bet the Jazz -7.5, you covered. So good on that. And finally, the Mavs -11.5 over the Pistons. I didn't put the money line on there because it's 4 digits and it didn't start with a 1. Detroit, Detroit might have a bright future, but it's not bright right now, and that's what we have to look at. He was questionable tonight for them. Knox and Kleba is probable for the Mavs. Porzingis is out with a bone bruise.
Okay, I'm going to throw a caution up here for everybody. If you're going to bet on the NBA, I would strongly recommend you pay attention to what's going on the trade situation. Because, as Chris just said, I mean, there have been trades gone on, and we just, we haven't been on the air for an hour, okay? So, look, this is that time of year when teams make trades, or, Chris had mentioned a couple players sitting out tonight. Maybe that's because they're going to get traded. Maybe it's not. We don't know. But we do know this. This time of the year in basketball would be the same situation as when you get to the trade deadline in baseball or the NHL. You just have to monitor what's going on because what you think might be starting tonight may not. So this might be a good night to look at college basketball or the NHL or Olympics to go get your situations there. But we got plenty of good parlays. Chris gave you plenty of good parlays.
And one thing you can always do, what I do every day when I do this stuff, is always check official.nba.com/NBA injury report. They update it every hour, so you'll know, before you go and play the wager. Check and see if somebody that is questionable or missing or out completely. I try to keep up with it during the show, so that way I can give you the most updated information. But obviously, it's going to change between now and tip-off for a lot of these people. So, bookmark it. Keep it at your friend. It helps me every day when I look at it. It can help you. Tom asking about Michigan and Penn State, because Bueller, Michigan -2. Michigan's coming off an 82-76 road loss in West Lafayette to Purdue. Before that, they struggled against Nebraska to win 85-79 at home. And prior to that game, they had lost 83-67 on the road in East Lansing to Michigan State. Now, I know there's a lot of good power conference games tonight. You got Illinois, Purdue. That's going to be a big matchup in West Lafayette. Kofi Cockburn and Zach Edey, Trevion Williams. 3 really talented big men in that one. Purdue is currently favored by 5.5 or 6 points. Might be a little bit too much, but it'll be interesting for sure. Like you said, Michigan Penn State is going on. Like we said, we touched on Dublin with St. John's. You got Iowa State, West Virginia. That's going to be interesting. East Lansing, you got Wisconsin going to face Michigan State. Michigan State's got to bounce back after getting absolutely flattened by Rutgers the other night. Game that I still don't understand. I looked at the score and I was like, what the hell is this? It must have been a typo. And then I looked and just saw how poorly Michigan State shot. As for Jennifer, she asked about a whole bunch of teams, Jim. Marquette, Stanford, USC, Kentucky, Monmouth, and Buffalo.
We touched on USC, so there you go, Jen.
We touched on USC. I actually wrote about Buffalo against Eastern Michigan tonight. Buffalo's favored by 13. They're at home. They're coming off a 20-point win over Central Michigan. It's always tough to try to remember which team you played. Meanwhile, Eastern Michigan is 1-13 on the road. They don't score a lot of points, and they're terrible defensively. I think Buffalo will prevail in that one. Stanford. Kentucky's playing. Kentucky's down in my neck of the woods. They'll play over in Columbia in the Colonial Life Arena against Frank Martin and the Gamecocks. I don't care that South Carolina beat somebody the other day. I've watched them play enough. They got whipped up by Tennessee. They got whipped by Mississippi State. Their 3 wins were over Georgia, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M. Nobody's impressed by that necessarily. The Texas A&M win would have been nice about 3 weeks ago. I think Kentucky should take care of business. Obviously, John Calipari's team has a ton of talent. Marquette is facing. Marquette's got UConn road. Now, I would always say that you can't trust or you can't go against UConn at home, but we just watched them lose to Creighton last week. With that said, it's tough to figure out a shot smart team because they had a rough stretch earlier. They've been on a roll of late, but can they go into stores and get a win? I'm not overly convinced of that. I know they're getting 6 points. They might be able to cover that, but it depends. If you're looking at the line, perhaps. If you're going straight up, probably not. Marist is on the road at Monmouth. The Hawks, they'll be leaving back after this season to go to the Colonial. We talked about that yesterday. I think Monmouth has enough talent that they can get a win at home. They're 15-7. Marist hasn't been all that great. Monmouth comes in with 5 wins in their last 6 games, 1 loss in that stretch. A 1-point overtime loss to Niagara, who beat Iona the other day, gave Rick Pitino his first conference loss of the season, and got recognized by Dickie V as his mid-major team today.
Who does Stanford play?
Yeah, Stanford is playing, I'm guessing it's probably Cal. No, it's UCLA.
Okay, well, they're not going to win.
Yeah, they're probably not. Let me just see what the line
What's
is.
the line?
They could potentially cover. The line is 7.5. I mean, UCLA, they lost to Arizona. They lost to Arizona State, and you can't count out Stanford. I mean, they did beat USC.
That's true. That's true. Are they playing in Stanford? Or are they playing?
Yeah, at the Maples Pavilion.
Okay. Strawberry Canyon is what they call
that what
place. Up in Stanford, yeah. So, no, you know what? That might be closer to a toss-up. You might be right.
Yeah, I would probably take the points there because UCLA's in their last 4 road games 2-2, and neither of their road wins were by more than 7 points.
Right. And they have a tendency. I'm sorry.
Stanford 3 at home against UCLA.
Yeah. I was just going to say UCLA has had this penchant for getting off the big leads and then letting other teams get back. And in some cases, not only get back and beat them, but get back and suddenly get out of the gym. So, they need to get that fixed, definitely before Saturday. And, you're right, the points in Stanford, that's tough not to take.
Yeah, you look at their last 3 road wins, they beat Cal by 8, and everybody knows Cal has not been a good basketball team.
True.
They beat Utah by 5, and Utah's even worse than Cal.
Right.
And they beat Colorado by 6.
And they're a middle of the pack team, so.
Yeah. So I think Stanford can, I know that UCLA beat them by 23 in Napoli Pavilion. But, like we said, it's a Stanford team that's beat USC twice.
I think we should make Jennifer the queen of parlays. Every time she comes here, she comes strong with a bunch of interesting games. So, Jen, you, my friend, are the queen of the parlays here. By the way, so that James doesn't have to say it, smash the like button and hit the subscribe button because we definitely want you to like us. We try to be likable human beings. And subscribe to us because then you're going to know about all the fun stuff. Real quick, mark this on your calendars. Noon on Sunday, okay? Noon on Sunday, special mega crossover event. Get ready for it. On the same bill, this is almost as good as wrestling. On the same bill, you're going to have just parlays with Chris and myself. And at no extra cost, you will have Back to the Window with Scott and Scott. We're going to have all kinds of fun guests. We're going to do a Super Bowl preview, pregame show from noon until 2 o'clock. That's Eastern time. So check it on your list. Make sure that you don't miss it. We want to see you here. Jen, we want to see you with, we want everybody. James, the whole gang. Come on down. So
if it was a wrestling billboard, it would have us at the top, and then it would say,
we would be in a tag team. It would be a tag team fight to the death. Texas cage match. So it would be fun. And mark it down, noon until 2 p.m. on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to have a lot of fun. So bring your own beverages and your own party gifts and sit back and have some fun with us and interact because we'll answer your questions. We'll do our best to get everybody in.
Well, we can't promise that Steve and Rachel will because
Well, we will. So by all means. And speaking of the two Scotts, they're coming up here in about a half an hour at 3 o'clock on the Winners and Winers Sports Betting Network. So mark down Sunday because you don't want to miss it. And mark down 3 o'clock because, some entertaining things is going on. I'm not going to hold against it the fact that they made one of their major bets yesterday to be against my USF Bulls. So there you go. Fine. Good on them.
What was up with that? They won. What was up with that?
I don't know. Stranger things have happened. So, all right, everybody. Chris, any more final thoughts or any questions that you see there?
I think we got everything covered.
All right. Well, gang, tell you what, it has always been fun to have you here. Please come back and see us tomorrow, same time, 1:30. And we're going to have plenty of stuff. And as we get closer to the Super Bowl, we're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to show you some Super Bowl props, which we think, I should say Chris thinks because I don't see them yet. But Chris is the maven of Super Bowl parlays. So you're getting some props with some parlay stuff that you might want to get.
Yeah, we did yesterday.
Yeah, we gave you a little preview yesterday. But we're going to sprinkle in some more as we come closer and closer to our Friday show, which always we have a guest on Friday, and then the Sunday Super Show, the crossover event with...
let's say, don't you dare miss it.
No, don't. You will be very sad if you do, and we don't want you to be sad. All right, for Chris King, I'm Jim Williams. Thanks for joining us. 3 o'clock, Scott and Scott back to the window right here on where else but the Winners and Winers Sports Betting Network. Everybody have a great day.